definitely go ahead and start drinking again.
Let's start from the very beginning of this trailer, because the very first shot alone already tells us that Season 3 of Landman is going to be operating on a completely different level than anything we have seen before. The trailer opens in a way that immediately grabs you by the collar and refuses to let go. We are not eased into this season, we are thrown into it, and that creative decision alone already says everything about the tone that the writers and directors are setting for what is coming. From the very first second, there is this overwhelming sense that the ground beneath every single character we love has completely shifted, and nobody, not Tommy, not Angela, not Cooper, not Ainsley, nobody is standing on solid ground anymore. And honestly, after the way Season 2 ended, that makes complete and total sense. Now, the first major thing the trailer shows us is Tommy, and the moment you see him, you immediately notice that something is different. This is not the Tommy we saw at the end of Season 2, who was finally stepping into something new with hope and determination. The Tommy we see in this trailer looks like a man who has already been through another war before the season has even started. His face carries this exhaustion that goes beyond just being tired from work. This is the kind of exhaustion that comes from carrying weight that no single person should ever have to carry alone. And the way he is shown in the trailer, the setting around him, the people near him, all of it communicates that CTT, the company he started with his father and his son, the company that was supposed to be his fresh start and his redemption, is already in a position that is far more complicated and far more dangerous than any of them expected when they first launched it. And this is where the trailer starts doing something incredibly smart. Instead of showing us straightforward scenes of what is going wrong, it layers the tension. It cuts between moments so quickly and so deliberately that you are constantly being given pieces of the puzzle without ever being handed the full picture. You see Tommy in what looks like a tense conversation, and before you can fully process what is being said or who he is talking to, the trailer cuts away and throws you somewhere else entirely. You see Angela in a moment that looks like she is holding everything together through sheer willpower alone, and then before you can take a breath, you are somewhere else again. This is masterful trailer editing, because it respects the intelligence of the audience. It knows that fans of this show are paying attention. It knows that the people who have followed Landman this far are not just casual viewers. They are invested. They notice things. And so instead of spelling everything out, the trailer gives you just enough to make your mind race with every possible scenario and outcome. But let us talk about what the trailer is clearly communicating beneath all of that fast cutting and tension, because there is a very clear story being told here if you know where to look. CTT is struggling. Tommy and his team came into this new venture with experience and intelligence and determination, but they came in with Galino's money. And as anyone who has watched this show knows, nothing that comes from Galino ever comes without a price that is almost too heavy to pay. The trailer makes it very clear, without explicitly stating it, that Galino is not a patient man, and he is not a forgiving man, and the pressure that he is putting on Tommy and CTT is already beginning to fracture things in ways that nobody inside that company is fully prepared to handle. And what makes this even more heartbreaking to watch in the trailer is that you can see Tommy trying. You can see him fighting with everything he has. But the walls are closing in from multiple directions at once. And that is the kind of situation where even the smartest and most experienced person in the room can find themselves completely overwhelmed. And then just when you think the trailer has already given you enough to process, it pulls you in an entirely different direction and reminds you that Tommy's problems are not even the only storm brewing in this season, because Cammy is there too. And the way Cammy is shown in this trailer is something that genuinely stopped me in my tracks the first time I watched it. Because this is not the Cammy who fired Tommy with cold confidence at the end of Season 2. This is not the Cammy who believed she was making the right call for MTech's and for Galino's investment. The Cammy we see in this trailer looks like someone who has already begun to realize, in the most painful way possible, exactly how wrong she was. And the weight of that realization is written all over her in every single frame she appears in throughout this trailer. Something has gone seriously wrong at MTech's. The wells are not producing the way they were supposed to. The money is not flowing the way Galino expected. And with Tommy gone and no one left at MTech's who truly understands the business the way he did, Cammy is standing in the middle of a disaster that is entirely of her own making. And the trailer makes sure you feel every ounce of that. Now let us talk about Galino, because if there is one thing this trailer makes absolutely crystal clear, it is that Galino is done being patient. And I want you to really think about what that means for every single character in this story, because Galino's patience running out is not just a problem for Tommy or just a problem for Cammy. When Galeno loses his patience, everybody suffers. Everybody is at risk. And the trailer communicates this in a way that is genuinely chilling if you are paying close attention. There is a particular energy around every moment Galeno appears in this trailer that is completely different from how he was presented in Season 2. In Season 2, Galeno was dangerous, yes, but there was still this calculated, controlled quality to his danger. He was still operating within boundaries, still keeping his threats at a certain level, still maintaining a version of civility, even when he was making it very clear that he was not someone to be crossed. But the Galeno we are seeing in this trailer has crossed over into something else entirely. The controlled, calculated version of this man appears to be gone. And what has replaced it is something far more unpredictable, far more volatile, and honestly far more terrifying. And the reason this matters so much is because of where his money currently sits. His money is in two places right now. It is in MTech, which is failing under Kimmy's leadership because she no longer has Tommy or anyone with Tommy's level of expertise keeping the operations running properly. And it is in CTT, which is Tommy's new company and which is carrying the enormous pressure of having to prove itself and generate returns fast enough to satisfy a man who does not understand or care about the natural timeline of the oil and gas business when his own financial interests are at stake. So Galeno is watching both of his investments struggle simultaneously. He is watching money that he put on the line, money that, according to everything we learned in Season 2, comes from sources that are anything but clean and anything but safe. He is watching that money sit in situations that are not delivering what he was promised. And a man like Galeno, a man who has built his entire existence around control and around making sure that people who owe him things deliver on those obligations. A man like that does not simply wait and hope for things to improve. He acts. He applies pressure. He makes sure that the people responsible for his money understand in the most direct and most frightening way possible that failure is simply not something he is willing to accept. The trailer shows us glimpses of this pressure being applied, and every single one of those glimpses is deeply unsettling. There is a moment in the trailer where you see Tommy in what can only be described as a confrontation, and everything about his body language and everything about the energy of the scene tells you that this is not a business meeting. This is not a negotiation. This is a man being told that the grace period is over and that consequences are now on the table. And what makes that moment hit so hard is that we know Tom. We have spent 2 full seasons with this man. We know how tough he is. We know how much he has endured and how much he has survived. And yet in that moment in the trailer, he looks genuinely cornered in a way we have never quite seen before. Because being cornered by Galeno is a fundamentally different thing from being cornered by any other kind of problem. Business problems can be solved with intelligence and hard work and the right decisions. Galeno is not a business problem. Galeno is a threat that operates completely outside the boundaries of anything that can be solved with intelligence and hard work alone. And this brings us to something the trailer hints at that I think is going to be one of the most emotionally devastating storylines of the entire season, and that is what appears to be happening with TL. For those who felt the weight of that moment in the Season 2 finale, when we saw Tommy struggling with stress and reaching for medication, the trailer for Season 3 seems to be picking up that thread and pulling it in a direction that is going to be very difficult to watch. Because TL is not a young man. TL has given everything he has to this family and to this business, and he has done it with a joy and an enthusiasm that has made him one of the most genuinely lovable characters in the entire series. He is the kind of person who makes every scene he is in warmer and more human simply by being present in it. And the idea that the stress of everything happening around CTT and around Galeno's threats could be pushing someone like TL toward a serious health crisis is not just a plot development. It is an emotional gut punch that the trailer is clearly preparing us for. Because think about what that would mean for Tommy. Think about what it would do to a man who is already carrying the weight of a failing company and a dangerous creditor and a complicated history with Cammy and Mectex, to then have to face the possibility of losing his father on top of everything else. Tommy Anderson is a strong man. He is one of the strongest characters this show has ever given us. But every person has a breaking point, and the trailer for Season 3 seems to be building directly toward finding Tommy's. The emotional stakes in this season are not just high, they are at a level that this show has never quite reached before. And the trailer is doing an extraordinary job of making sure you feel the full weight of that before the season has even aired. By the time you finish watching this trailer for the first time, you do not just want to watch Season 3. You feel like you need to watch it. You feel like these characters are real people whose lives are genuinely hanging in the balance. And that is exactly the kind of connection that separates a truly great television series from everything else that is out there competing for your attention. Now let us shift our attention to Cooper and Ariana, because the trailer gives us something with these two that this show has honestly been building toward for a very long time, and seeing it finally start to come together on screen is one of the most genuinely satisfying things about this entire trailer. Because Cooper and Ariana's story has never been a simple one. From the very beginning, their relationship has existed under the shadow of something heavy and complicated, something that could at any moment reach back into their lives and pull everything apart before they ever get the chance to fully build what they are clearly meant to have together. And the trailer for Season 3 does not pretend that shadow has disappeared. It does not give us a version of Cooper and Ariana where everything is suddenly easy and clean and uncomplicated. Instead, it shows us two people who are choosing each other anyway. Two people who are looking at everything standing between them and a real future together and deciding that none of it is bigger than what they feel for each other. And honestly, after everything this show has put both of them through, they deserve that. They have more than earned it. But the trailer is also smart enough not to let us get too comfortable with that warmth. Because hovering over everything related to Cooper is still that unresolved situation involving the man he killed. The man who abused Ariana. And as satisfying and as justified as that moment felt when it happened, the reality of living with it and the legal and emotional consequences of it have never fully gone away for Cooper. The trailer seems to suggest that in Season 3, this is going to be something that Cooper can no longer keep at a safe distance. There are moments in the trailer involving Cooper where the tension is completely different from the warm, hopeful energy of his scenes with Ariana. There are moments where Cooper looks like a young man who is beginning to understand that the decision he made, no matter how much love and protection motivated it, carries a weight that does not simply dissolve with time. And watching him navigate that while simultaneously trying to move forward into a real life with Ariana is going to create one of the most compelling and emotionally layered storylines of the entire season. Because here is the thing about Cooper that makes him such a fascinating character to watch. He is young, but he is not naive. He has grown up in an environment that has demanded a certain kind of toughness from him, a certain understanding of how the world actually works versus how we would all prefer it to work. And yet, underneath all of that toughness, underneath the decisions he has made and the things he has been willing to do, there is a genuine goodness to Cooper that you cannot fake and that the show has never let you forget. He did not kill that man out of anger or out of some cold, calculating desire for revenge. He did it out of love. He did it because he saw someone he cared about being hurt in the worst possible way, and he refused to let that continue. And the trailer for Season 3 seems to be asking a very difficult and very important question about that act of love. It seems to be asking whether a decision made for the right reasons can still carry consequences that are deeply unfair, and whether a person can truly build a happy future while something like that remains unresolved in the background. And then we have Ainsley, and I have to say, the way Ainsley is shown in this trailer made me genuinely smile. Because the growth this character has gone through from where she started to where she is now is one of the most quietly impressive character arcs in the entire series. When we first met Ainsley, she was someone who was still figuring out who she was and what she was capable of. She was navigating a world that felt too big and too complicated for her. And there were moments in the earlier seasons where you genuinely worried about her. But the trailer for Season 3 shows us an Ainsley who is completely transformed into someone you would never worry about again. This is a young woman who has found her footing in the most real and most meaningful way possible. She is confident without being arrogant. She is strong without having lost any of the warmth and the humor that has always made her so magnetic on screen. And the trailer makes it very clear that in Season 3, Ainsley is not going to be on the sidelines of this story. She is going to be right in the middle.